remember Steve Ross at the time was saying, well, why don't you just stay in music, and stuff. And God said, hey, we just sold 50 million albums. uh, these other things I think are valid too, I mean, if you feel it, because I think if you really pay your dues with your core skill, I spent a long time to try to be a good orchestrator, ranger, composer, all that stuff. I paid my dues in 3 times on that, and because I really loved it and I gave it everything I had. But somehow it opens up your mind to be able to deal with theatrical films. I mean, I scored 44 films. So you're around. It's a question of just indoctrination, being around the situation. Okay, the role was very simple. I was at Warner Brothers Records, so I had this multimedia company. Had just started Vibe magazine, which was Steve Ross said that he was getting heat for synergy and so forth, and they helped him to see what the other things, how we could mix things up. And I said, well, I've got a good idea for magazines. I don't know much about magazines, etc. He said, here's the masthead guys. Go see, Dick Stoley, McManus, and all these guys, and Gil Rogan. And I went. And uh, one of the reviewers from Entertainment Weekly, a music reviewer, sent a letter back to Gil Rogan, and he said, Quincy Jones of Hip Hop Magazine with Time Warner. So what a ridiculous idea. And in 5 paragraphs, he turned it around of let's get started tomorrow on it. And it worked. It's became the Hip Hop Magazine. It's so uh, Benny Medina from Warner, at that time he was the head of black music at Warner Brothers. And he kept telling me about this story that occurred with an old friend of mine when I was living in Paris, working with Barclay Records to study. Michel Legrand was conducting for Maurice Chevalier, and Jack Elliott was conducting for Jacqueline Francois. And we all hung out in Paris at that time and got back. Evidently, Benny's parents left him when he was living in the ghetto, and Jack took him into his the apartment over the Beverly Hills apartment over the garage with his son Alan Elliott. Right, that was the genesis of it. And that idea we liked. And so at 6 o'clock we were doing still having a meeting with Warren Littlefield and Brandon Tartikoff, and Benny was out in the other room. And so he finally called Benny in to just explain his life. It was really his life story. And so in 8 minutes we made the pitch, and at 11 o'clock Warren Littlefield called me up and said, we like this. We showed him Will, and in a video, and they called at 11 o'clock and says, we're buzzed. Tomorrow you have to speak to 700 sponsors to tell them that you're a father of 7 kids and that Will, the rapper, is not dangerous. Like Will, anybody can imagine Will Smith being dangerous, but they would, it's the first time a rapper had ever been. They hadn't done movies or anything then, and didn't really believe that rap was going to happen. And I remember Michael Jackson telling me that rap is dead, please. Will was what happened was we were out doing Back on the Block. I had the whole group out there. We had 4 rappers, Ice-T and all the guys, and the gospel choir, Tevin Campbell, everybody. We had done our Senior Hall show, and while we were out there, Benny Medina came by to see the show, and I think Will asked him for directions or something how to get to the forum, and he took his number, and then in the process, we got Andy and Susan Borowitz, the family was changed to a bougie black family, which made it much stronger. And we got the great cast right away, right away. Just, it stuck like glue, and it's either right or something. And we were on air in 10 weeks after the pitch. 10 weeks. No time for paralysis, analysis, nobody time for notes and all that junk, Just did it. I did a couple of, I did a cameo on Fresh Prince with Little Richard, Richard Penniman. We're both the same age. He is so funny. I also did a little Richard on Dollars with Richard Brooks. He was in the picture. And to introduce the two of those guys, Little Richard and Big Richard, was the funniest. I have pictures of that. And that is a combination. Little Richard and Richard Brooks. It was just great. Well, it was the impact, I think, was the combination of uh, both sides of the economic strata, of the black community, which is glaring. I mean that gives you a premise for every episode. When you got one from Philadelphia that got thrown out of out of the house, he was too much trouble to come out here with his bourgeois family, and every move he makes, is a scene for entertainment, and for conflict, and that's when you got a good premise for a series, because it has to keep moving and to change and to deal with strong themes sometimes, and deal with light themes sometimes, but it gives you a premise to go wherever you want to go, and it was a balance. Cosby started a whole new thing with his last TV show, and so did Will. Because that was a combination of both sides of the fence, duck out of water.